Let's go!
And they have a scary offense. You got two basically number one receivers.
It's Deebo Samuel, the missing piece for the Washington Commanders to win the Super Bowl. Comment below because they're saying Deebo is washed. So he gets a little reverse handoff here. He's able to pound this into the end zone with this shorter, thicker frame. The biggest knock on him is the actual receiving ability. I know that sounds weird, but Deebo is a gadget guy. This is a guy that's not had over 1,000 yards since 2021. And you'll see right here that the verticality isn't really what he's known for, but he gets a free release off the line of scrimmage. As many of you know, the Patriots were arguably the worst coach team in the NFL. So while this is good to see Deebo still catching a vertical catch here, that was because there was absolutely positively no resistance whatsoever. Here he is at running back, and then he motions out, and Brock Purdy clearly sees that he has a man coverage matchup versus a linebacker, okay? So obviously this is where you want to go with the football, and guess what? Brock sees it, throws a vertical, and this is a situation where Deebo should win this matchup easily. He does, and that's what makes him very enticing, is that you actually can hand him off the football at the running back position, but then you can also leak him out for huge gains in the passing game, and he is still a load to bring down. And now this time, you have an actual running back in the game, but you motion him here, and a lot of times this is just a fake motion, but this time you actually are handing the football off, and your numbers are really freaking good here, okay? You'll see that no one is actually running with Deebo Samuel, which is a good thing. And then the second thing is, when you're handing this football off to him, you have a tight end on this side, you really do have them outnumbered, and you factor in that the DT kind of runs himself out of the play here. Guess what? This should be a huge gain, and guess what? It ends up being that, right? With the way Deebo is able to motion and you can actually hand him the football off, you can find explosive ways to run the football. Now, do you remember that Dallas Cowboys play where Deebo was in a somewhat similar position and he went vertical behind the linebacker? Now, this is what you can do out of that, right? This DB is thinking that Deebo is running a vertical behind George Kittle, but instead of running vertically, this is actually an in-breaker behind it, okay? So you can watch film, but still not be ready for it, okay? You can see he angles off right here. Brock Purdy finally sees it, and he makes a really good throw. And obviously, Jayden's a better QB than Purdy. This football was behind Deebo Samuel, but that's why he's so enticing, right? Because you can actually hand the football off to him, or you can motion him and he can run behind the linebacker. He is a very, very, very tasty option in many different ways.
Hey, yo.
Pause.
So this play right here gives you the pluses and minuses of Deebo all in one. All right. So let's first start with the positives, and then we'll get to the negatives of this play. Okay. 3rd and 8. First off, you got to pick up this first down. Bang. You not only pick it up, but you break not one, not two, and even Jalen Ramsey doesn't want any business with you. 3 tackles. DT tries to strip it there at the end, and Deebo scores. Now, why is this a negative? Well, you take a look at this play, and a lot of the Deebo plays that we've seen, and we'll get to another here in just a second, a lot of what you've seen today is the formation and the play design getting him open, all right? This isn't him going up against a corner and just beating him outright. It's him getting free releases, stacked releases. Obviously, this play has as much to do with George Kittle than it does Deebo, at least before the catch. But that's the design, okay? So you have the running back running into the flat. That takes this player out. George Kittle has the underneath defender, and this is just wide open space. So it's an easy read for Purdy and a wide open alley for Deebo to catch this ball. So, yes, the yak is really freaking good. That's also a really piss-poor tackle attempt, but that right there is freaking special. So you have to understand who he is as a player at this point in his career. But honestly, this, I think, is the big benefit of him the red zone, right? As good as Jayden Daniels was last year, any Commanders fans know that there were a lot of plays in this area of the field that resulted in field goals. Deebo just gives you a guy that actually finds a way to get into the end zone quite a bit, whether it's reverses, quick jet sweeps, pop passes, whatever the case may be. He's just really good in this area of the field. I want to break down this play design, one of my favorites of the season. So the 49ers are running counter GY to the right, okay? And in this instance, it's a fullback, so he's not a tight end per se, but you're pulling him and you're pulling him. It's actually counter GH, but whatever. And what you're actually doing here is you're faking the counter to the right, and this is actually a play designed to go to Deebo to the left. So you have a vertical here, and then the H, who is faking the pull, is actually leaking out into the flat, and Deebo's job right here is to fake like he's blocking and then release. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The end obviously lets Deebo go. This play is actually read pretty well by the safety, but Deebo Samuel overall has good ball skills. He's able to redirect and come back to the football and make this catch, and all he has to beat in a foot race is a defensive end. Now, here's the problem. Deebo doesn't have that same gear as he once did, and this end actually almost catches him. Mafi is actually a really, really, really good athlete, but guess what? Deebo still finds a way to score this, okay? So, we get to some of Deebo's 2023 highlights, and I'll give you my honest thoughts on Deebo with the Commanders. I'll be honest, I'm not in love with the move, okay? Now, before I show you this ridiculous play, this was an incident that happened last year with the deep snapper of the 49ers. So there are extracurriculars that you have to worry about if Deebo Samuel is on your team. He's not always been the easiest to work with, per se. But this is the big thing. Can he give you something as a pure wide receiver? The answer to that is probably no. Like we said, he's not had a 1,000-yard receiving season in quite some time now, and he is kind of a gadget-ish kind of guy. I do think that actually fits well with Jayden Daniels, and that's why I think the move is going to work, because it's Jayden freaking Daniels. The first thing about Jayden that people get wrong is, yeah, he's a very talented and gifted deep ball thrower, and he also doesn't mind sitting back in the pocket and allowing plays to develop and going through progressions and all of that. But Jayden also likes to play very, very, very quick. And when it comes to quick game, Deebo Samuel with screens like you see in the background is very, very, very potent. And with that quick game, it's safe, easy throws, especially for an offensive line that should be better next year. Obviously, the unit was one of the biggest shocks in the NFL, but it's still a work in progress, right? This offensive line getting completely up to snuff is probably still a year-ish away. A guy like Deebo Samuel, who you can get the football out to quickly, is a player that can really help you out with that. So I actually do think this move's going to work because I think Jayden Daniels is so freaking amazing, and I do think Cliff Kingsbury is creative enough to actually use Deebo Samuel correctly. So while I'm not necessarily in love with Deebo, especially this current iteration of Deebo Samuel, it's going to work because it's Jayden freaking Daniels. It is Power Hour NFL. Boom! Floating in your face, some other fun videos, and tonight we are doing burgers. Let's go.